sections to look at, and then we'll finish up later with a demonstration that everyone can get involved with. But at first, I want to throw everything out to Andrew right now with Woolpert. Woolpert is our consultant that helped with the original master plan and the design for Crooked Creek Park. Right now we have completed phase 1, so we are looking at the next phase of what it can consist of. So he has some presentation and a map here to show you with different layouts. And I turn everything over to Andrew, then I'll get up later and talk a little bit more.
Great. How's everybody doing this evening? Good? Good? Yeah. Everybody's nice and warm? I'm going to anticipate that we'll get through this. I don't know. We could be here as late as you guys want to be, because if we get some good discussion going, but I know that everybody's time is very valuable. So I think Jay and I were talking, if we can get out of here by an hour, then that'll be good. I'm going to try to just go through a really quick, brief presentation this evening for about 15 minutes. As Jay said, I'm Andrew Pack. I'm one of the principals. I'm here in the Charlotte office, and we've been very fortunate to been working with the Indian Trail for several years. One is helping with the original park master plans, and then helping with the implementation of the phase 1 of this particular project. This evening we're just going to go through really the study area of the park. We're going to talk a little bit about the site analysis, and some of you guys have already flipped the maps over. But we'll discuss just briefly what the constraints, the opportunities, what we have available out at the site. We'll describe a little bit about what the existing phase 1, what that consists of. And Jay's going to kind of just briefly just bring us up to speed a little bit of a really nice grant that the town has been awarded, and what some of the components are with that, and just talk a little bit about the park. And then we'll just go through probably about a 15 to 20 minute half-hour exercise, just really trying to brainstorm to get your all's ideas on the park, and then we'll wrap it up. With me, again, the project team. Again, I'm Andrew Pack. I've got Wayne Robinson and also Mark Medoff with us. There's a lot of different previous studies that were done previously before this plan. This thing is, it seems like it's wanting to move on its own. That's right. Well, I don't know why it's doing that. Stop there. A little bit about Woolpert. These are just some projects here locally that we've been involved with. I mean, outside of Crooked Creek Park, just right north in Mecklenburg County, the regional sports complex. We're the master planners, and we're actually the architect of record on that particular project. Real big project. It's all about the number of fields on that particular project. A lot of earth moving, and the second phase is actually under construction now. And that's a comparison of that particular project. It's one of the largest here in the region, but there's a lot of things that we did on that particular plan, very similar to what we did on this Crooked Creek, where there's a lot of sensitive areas on that site. So we really wanted to make sure that we build parks within parks, and it's not all about, no offense guys on the athletics, but there's a lot about parks. There's other things, what can you do, what draws kids, families, elderly, the different demographics to these parks. So it's all about the programming. You know, what are some of the activities that we can do? So it's a blend of all those. Manchester Meadows is another excellent project down in Rock Hill. It's about 10 years, 10 years old now, 2006. And they hosted the 2012 Youth Soccer National Championship. So that wasn't even in the books, guys. Man, when we're planning these facilities, and then all of a sudden that rose to the occasion to bring in a tournament like that, you know, there's a lot of economic impact, and that wasn't even in the planning. It was just a nice surprise that that group and that facility was able to host that. They've got roughly 8 fields, 2 synthetic and 6 natural turf. Now, 2014, those tournaments are going to a minimum of 12 fields. So they're 4 fields short. And so Mecklenburg, you know, we wanted to make sure that we at least had 12 for them to host that. So there's constantly things that are changing when you're looking at some of these sports complexes. Pineville, we just recently finished a really nice several facilities up there, again with their baseball field, a lot of nice local architectural detailing on that particular project that really kind of matched the downtown. It's a fun venue and a nice site. And of course, we're also very proud of Crooked Creek Park and the things that it's bringing to us. Again, as I was saying, there's been previous studies, and we always like to look back at all the different studies that occur. You know, there's so much information that is brought to the big picture of any community, and we just don't always just want to zoom in on this particular site. There's so much that influences how this project site may react socially, how it reacts in the future planning. So again, we've got all this knowledge that we've understand, we've gone through when we're doing the master planning. We also have great knowledge on just the region. We also worked on the Union County Comprehensive Parks Master Plan several years ago. We didn't do the recent update, but also regionally, as you can see with all the projects, we know regionally what we don't want to duplicate, you know, what makes Indian Trail a little bit different, and also how we can complement and be a special place for visitors and local citizens can use. And here's the copy or a map of the existing sites. Again, we're looking at this, what it's called Sardis Park, but it's actually the Crooked Creek Park. And this is taken from the existing master plan. So you can see all the dashed circles showing future parks. So again, comprehensively, you know, with the Crooked Creek Park, we know that there's a big connection with Greenway trails. So that's obviously we got the Crooked Creek, and so we want to take advantage of that to make sure that we can link a lot of our different communities together. We're looking at 140 acres. This is an aerial of the before the phase 1 was developed. And this area is our what we're calling phase 1. You can see a little bit of the tree clearing that was done. This was in successional planning, which meant we had pine trees. If anybody has those crappy sweet gum trees, you know, a lot of that's coming up. So that's what was in there. They're probably about 12 to 16 feet in height. And so we're very sensitive with trying to look at what trees and what tree cover we needed to remove in order to put in the project. And this is just some of the existing photos. Some of the large specimen trees that we definitely wanted to maintain on the site. You know, the character, the wildlife. You know, a lot of critters out there, and again, that's part of these parks as well, is maintain those corridors for all the wildlife to live and to let it be a livable community. And then that's a little picture of the creek that we've got for those who have not ventured down to the creek. You know, when we look at any of our site analysis, we tend to look at natural and cultural factors. Cultural factors are those, or if you want, the best way to describe those are man-made. They're the zoning, they're the setbacks, they're utilities, all those things that we bring on the site. So we want to look at all those and look how that relates to our project. And then from the natural factors, again, that's the floodplains, the wetlands, all those. I apologize, guys, this thing keeps on advance. The soils, you know, any of the drainage patterns that we have on the site. So we got to be good detectives to kind of look, what's the land telling us? A lot of times we'll go into these parks and, you know, Chestnut, when we did Chestnut Park, and this one, you have there's some of these existing sites are old farm sites. So we always look at the farmer. The farmer's not going to put crop on the side of a hill. So that's where the trees are. So that's what we try to look at when we come up with these passive active parks. We try to put the large grading of the big active fields that's going to take a lot of grading, put those on the flattest slope, where we try to look at this passive recreation to go on the other. So there's a lot of little different clues that we want to look into. The floodplain on this particular site, it's a big deal. I mean, and you can see on some of your maps where it flips over and it's all red. It's a reason for that. I mean, when we're looking at that, really that's a good indication of telling us we can't put buildings in there, or let's think, it really wants to advance. Where am I? There I am. So, you know, we've got the floodway, you know, which really is the core, and FEMA, basically the floodway, you can't do anything. That's an area you really have to keep open. Then in the 100-year floodplain, this is where we're looking at like disc golf course, looking at boardwalks, trails, and some of the passive recreation that it can get flooded. I mean, you can, and at some locations we've put open pavilion shelters, but again, you know, you got to tie everything down, because if it gets flooded, it can get flooded. But there's still a lot of really good uses that could go in the floodplain. And in this case, as you can tell, we've really kept the encroachment out of those areas. And that's what this map is starting to show. That's really the map that you got in front of you. We're looking at different zones of development, from the high, low, to medium. Really the low areas of development is in this red area. It's either slopes, soils, floodplain, easements, constraints, setbacks, some of those things. And then we go into the medium, and that's really where you're getting to maybe a little bit flatter slopes, not as much constraints. And then again, this higher, this clear areas is what we're looking at, the best area for active, you know, or development, you know, when you're looking at active recreation. You're grading, placing buildings and roadways. So when we look at this site, to your map that you got in front of you, we started looking at what zones do we have remaining, you know, on this 140 acres that, again, looking at the largest impact of recreation opportunities. So you can see we've got roughly about 7 acres, about 2 acres, and I can't read that, miles we get about 22 acres, something like that, of areas that we've got some really good land available to us for this evening for us to look through and to plan what can go on those areas.
So the red area here cannot be touched?
No, it can be touched. We can look at trails or bike paths, disc golf, and things like that, but they're very non-intrusive. We're not going to go in and do a whole lot of, you're not going to get a bulldozer down there, you know.
So these red areas here, will you be able to breach those? Because you'll need pathways back and forth.
Those are drainage corridors. They're basically wetlands or streams.
So you got to put a bridge or something?
Yeah, we would do like culverts,
okay.
you know, or arch pipes, you know, con spans that we can arch those.
And the restrictions for bridging those?
There are some restrictions because we're already below, we've already done some wetlands on this, so we are below the threshold to do an individual permit. So it depends on what type of crossing and how we get across and the impact.
What about weight limits of vehicles going across there?
We've looked into that from the previous plan. So yeah, we would have 2 crossings, one probably up here, and then, you know, somewhere along this.
We can limit the size of vehicles to go across the
No, we could do, yeah, for fire trucks, because we're going to need to have all the emergency vehicles. So yeah, we can design it. It's not a problem. We've already looked into that. There's now to come across, and I know we're not doing it, but to build a road across this way, then yeah, you know, I mean you could do it, but that's the NCDOT. We're looking at it, and we're not proposing that out here. So this is a great this is an awesome buffer. I mean, you know, for those who've not been there, to come into this area and to open into this nice view, you're up high, and, you know, as baseball players or anybody that's walking around, I mean, you know, staff, you guys have been out there. I mean, it's fantastic. You know, there's not a lot of, you feel like you've gone somewhere. You know, it's really cool. Jay, I don't know if you want to just highlight just really the grant that you guys have just received.
Yeah, so just this past November, the town was awarded a PARTF grant. PARTF is the Parks and Recreation Trust Fund grant. It's a state-funded grant that is done every year, and we applied for it, and there were 67 applications. So those are 67 different cities, towns around the entire state that applied for this grant, and they awarded 18 departments throughout the state the grant. Anywhere from as little of a dollar amount as, I think, $60,000 up to $500,000 is what the most was awarded this year. You can ask for up to $500,000, and we were awarded the grant in the award of $156,000. And what you'll see is we're going to add 4 amenities. And Andrew kind of hit it on the head earlier when he mentioned that the idea behind the park is to address as much demographics as possible. So what we're doing with these 4 new amenities is adding 4 completely different demographic groups that will come to this park that previously may not have. And what I mean by that is this circle here that's in the middle of this gray area is going to be outdoor fitness equipment. This fitness equipment, there's some pictures here, right here in this lower corner, and then a couple over here as well. It is just like gym equipment you would see at a Gold's Gym or a YMCA, but it's suitable to be outdoors year-round. And it'll have everything from ellipticals to chest press, leg press, and it's also going to have up to 3 or possibly 4 wheelchair accessible units as well. So it's 100% ADA compliant for certain pieces. An additional amenity we're going to add is a splash pad. If you're familiar with the layout of the park right now, the splash pad will go right beyond the playground in the open space there. So the splash pad will be anywhere from where that bridge ends to the fence that comes to the ends of that parkway there. And we'll look to start that planning process right now. We are going to do a disc golf course, which in this design is kind of here in this lower area. Like Andrew said, it's one of the things you could do in the floodplains that won't affect it on a day-to-day basis. And then the 4th unit we're going to add is additional walking trails. So right now we have roughly close to a mile of paved walking trail, and with the grant we'll add about 2,000 square feet of additional walking trail. So we're really excited about it. We're going to start very soon. We're in the process right now of getting the plans together. We had to wait for the contract from the state, which we got in the mail last week. So I would say we'll have things rolling in the next couple of months to get things out there, and we're really excited about it. And we are really lucky too, because we are, like I said, there's only 18 organizations that got the grant. It's very tough funding right now to get one of these grants. We went for it last year, we did not get it, and we improved our scoring system for that, and then also kind of did some additional factors with some of the pictures that we added and changed up our design that we really believe helped the process to get the grant this year.
Good
Can I
job.
ask sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, good job. Thanks for doing that.
Oh, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Just so that I can understand. The map with the red, which indicates the low-lying areas where we cannot build.
Yeah.
And when I look at this, it does identify, I guess, with the gray towards the bottom. From what I'm seeing here, it seems that this represents more land to build than this. Is that a fair statement?
No, well, I would say that the coloring scheme on this was the white. We had to do this layout for the grant application.
Okay.
So the white
They
in the
had, they had
middle.
requirements on this map, so yeah, these 2 maps don't,
Yeah, they're
they're
not.
the same plan, but
So-
they don't relate, the colors aren't.
So in other words, I would expect this to basically translate
Yeah.
onto this as we move forward with the meeting. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
And just to give everyone a reference point of what you're seeing here with different colors, the white in the center is already completed construction. The green are the amenities that would be added with the splash pad, and then the orange was on the original master plan, and then the yellow easement, well, the yellow that you see at the top is the easement that was created in the document.
But the disc golf and the gym pad encroaches on your low-lying areas, correct?
The disc golf does.
The disc golf comes down through here.
Yes. The fitness equipment It's really not a two-scaled map of where it
Okay.
could be. We can move that circle over here, or, you know, yeah, it could go right in there, and it would not be effective.
This line is not a engineered line, so I mean, it's very organic. I mean, when we designed this trail, of course, we had elevations that we couldn't go into, so we had all that. You can see that a little bit of this trail is coming into that. So there's still some more areas within that, because again, we had the floodway and the floodplain, so there's certain.
Understand it is golf.
Mhm.
I know
They can go
flooded
into
is no
the
big deal,
it can
but
go
when
into
you
the-
invest that much money for gym equipment, the last thing we want it done is flooded. At
Yeah.
any point.
Yeah, no,
At
absolutely.
any point, so I would,
The
the
way
way
that-
it looked like it was gonna encroach down here, and I was,
The way that it'll actually sit, and it's a little bit misleading on the map, is if you're out at the park right now,
There you go.
is you have a parking lot right here,
the gravel.
and it'll,
This thing just wants to move its own.
and I will say too, this circle is not nearly as large as what the square footage of the equipment will take up. Because if you move this circle over to, just in a reference point to the map, it's probably twice the size of the concession stand, which will not nearly be what the size of the actual equipment will be.
Okay.
It'll be closer up to the gravel parking lot. There'll be a pathway right from the
Yeah, it's
parking lot
kind
to
of
the
right in this
equipment.
area more here.
Probably not to scale then. That's what it
No, not at all.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point, but I think that also, you know, wherever these particular units are gonna go, even though they're in the floodplain, we surely hope that we don't test the 100-year floodplain, because if we do, the county has other issues outside of this park if we get those type of storms. We've all seen that occurring throughout the country, so.
Like
there's-
this year? Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
there's
probably
been a
gonna
lot.
test that before
Yeah,
January.
maybe. And we got a plan for that, and I'm not saying it's not gonna occur here, but I know that Jay and with Woolpert, you know, we know how to deal with those things. But yeah, these maps are a little bit, I don't wanna say cartoons, they're a little bit of artistic license to, you know, show something to, you know, over-exaggerate so we get the point across.
The gym area will have covers,
Like a picnic shelter.
Shade.
have
It-
roof
it-
over
a
it.
shade area.
We will add shade after the equipment goes in, so it's not in the original install, but
Okay.
at a later time, we plan on doing that.
How much later?
It'll be later this year, I don't have a time frame for it, it needs to get approved by council. So the PARTF grant has been approved by council and the funds for that, but we have not, since we did not know up until, we didn't know about this till November. So once we get the plans for the equipment to get installed, we'll approach council with additional projects that need to be approved.
So the cover or shade area for that gym equipment was not part of the grant?
Correct.
Okay, so just the equipment, the
Yes.
pad, all
The-
that?
The equipment in the grant was really, what the dollar amount asked for
Mhm.
was to get as much equipment as possible. So we did not just have 3 or 4 pieces of equipment, we're looking at having at least 7 different pieces of equipment.
The way the grant's set up, certain things score higher than others to make it
I
more
know.
likely to get. So.
Yeah, and the way that it works is that you get a scoring system based off how many amenities you add, but the amenity has to be a playground or fitness equipment or activity, it can't be a shade structure.
I'm not doing it. I'm not dancing, he just wants to keep it dancing.
One-
They're like, what is this guy doing?
One final thing I will add, and we're excited about it, but the 4 things we added, partly the reason why we chose those 4 things, they're entirely free for the public, and they will attract all different demographics. You know, you'll have teenagers to adults to seniors using the fitness equipment, and you'll have, you know, 12-month-old babies to 12-year-old babies using the splash pad, if not adults as well when they're in there with their kids. So we're adding amenities for all ages.
Yeah, that's fine.
This map here is really just, and you've got a copy of this in front of you as well. This is showing what's existing. So we just wanted to kind of bring that along, because that's obviously the map, we've got it superimposed on the other map as well, but we just wanted to highlight maybe if you have any questions on what's out there, and if you've not been there, we've got this map to help identify that. You know, the grand opening of phase 1, you know, was in May, and we were just talking earlier that one unique thing about that I really have to commend the town on is getting all the other different towns on the softball games. That was fun to watch. I didn't play, but it was kind of fun to watch to see really how you can bring all these other communities and be part and help celebrate one of your projects. And I thought that was a kind of a neat idea. You know, we've got the softball, baseball field that's out there. We got the large pavilion. We got the playground. Jay mentioned about the walking. They've also added some additional shelters out there. The cornhole, which is really cool, and the bocce courts.
Yeah, so they're not finalized yet, but we are actually getting ready to work on a couple more projects. We're adding 2 more shade structures out there, additional seating for the shade structures and along the walking trail, 3 permanent concrete cornhole sets and bocce courts as well, and more grills for the shelters.
And the dog park, I forgot about the mention.
And that's going in the existing playground or the overall?
There is, I'll show up on the TV so everyone can see it. There is a 30 by 30 shade structure going right behind the parking lot over here, which is going to have the bocce courts on one side and the cornhole courts on the other, along with 2 grills. And then we'll have another shade structure right here in between fields 1 and 4. Each of the shade structures will have 6 picnic tables, and then we're adding additional park benches along the walking trail as well for more seating.
That'd be nice. That's a nice addition.
Jay, I have a question.
Yep.
If you're going to have bocce and you're going to have cornhole, which is great,
Yep.
I love that idea. Are you going to have a full-time employee out there to
They'll
sign
have
it?
to,
Yeah, I
the
mean,
public will have to bring their own equipment.
okay, so when you say a bocce court and cornhole, it's not out there. You've got to bring your own.
The courts, the boards, all the actual supplies to play, well, the courts and the bocce courts will be there, and the cornhole board, but not the bags or the balls.
Okay, so I guess then the cornhole will be a permanent fixture in the
Oh, yeah,
ground.
it's
So
concrete
it won't
in
be
the
able
ground.
to
Yeah,
be moved.
it's not movable. They actually, each one weighs, I think, 320 pounds of solid concrete, so it's not going anywhere.
That's interesting. I never played on concrete
Yeah.
before. That ought to be interesting, yeah.
This, what you're seeing right here, is just a little wrap up. Andrew and I were talking this morning about giving people also an update on not what just the amenities we have out there, but just a wrap up of how our first year went. And when I say year, it actually wasn't even a complete year because we did not open officially until May 30th. What you'll see here is actually a graph for all 3 parks, but you know, we're focusing on Crooked Creek here. So between the time we opened, which officially was May 30th, so we didn't have any rentals at the shelter in May, but from June to November, we had 37 different organizations, families, groups rent the shelter out there. That could be everything from a birthday party, a family reunion. We had retirement parties. We had graduations out there of high school kids and college kids as well. And that's really what we're getting into with adding these additional shelters to provide more space for more families to get out there, enjoy the parks, have other amenities, have the grills, and enjoy the outdoors. You know, we had the same rentals at Chestnut and Crossing Paths as well. We weren't nearly as busy because Crooked Creek has really been the premier place to go to. And we can see that number continue to rise as we add more shelters for the next year. And then just to talk a little bit about tournaments, we are, and some people don't know this, we're the only tournament complex in Union County. And Union County is the 9th largest county in the state. So before we even finished this complex, our phone was ringing off the hook with, when can we get tournaments out there? How can we handle tournaments? Who can do this? Are you guys going to be available for boys, for girls? What's the field setup? What are the dimensions? We had 28 tournaments that were scheduled out there. I say scheduled because some of them got rained out and you know, didn't all of them take place. So if we would have had better weather, we would have had a little more, but we ended up having, I think, 22 that took place, 28 were scheduled. And we do a study every tournament that gets a little bit of an economic impact from the number of teams that were there, based off of how many teams were local, how many teams traveled, and we come up with a dollar that really is economic impact for the town. I know this is a little bit skewed because we do not currently have any hotels, so the overnight numbers aren't as high as that, but that is what an economic impact would be if we had hotels here in town. but we can still run the numbers for all of our local teams, and we can do the numbers for the overnight, but take away the hotel numbers. One of the tournaments that we work with, they do this number every trip with us, every tournament, and it's a really good number to see. We get the numbers from the entire state, and some of the tournaments that they're having in Huntersville and Concord and Gastonia around us are somewhere up to the $200,000, $300,000 economic impact for one weekend. It's quite impressive. And one other thing I would like to add, because the timing of it couldn't be better, but I had a tour this morning. We've had 4 different towns call us, or cities, towns, since this park opened, and wanted to get a tour of Crooked Creek because their teams that live in their town came, traveled, played at Crooked Creek. They went back and they went to their town officials or their council members and said, man, you guys need to go check out Crooked Creek. So I actually had a meeting this morning, a tour with the town of Landis, with their finance director, the park and rec director, and they pretty much came to us and we toured Crooked Creek for an hour and a half, looked at every single amenity and said, we just want to mimic your park. And it's the 4th time that's happened since we've opened. It's really something that I think our staff is really proud of. We got a couple of our staff members over here that work day in and day out to get that park up to where it's at. And it really goes to everyone that's been involved with Woolpert and Saltzman, our contractor, and the fact that our name is getting out there. We've had people come up to us that are at the tournaments that say, hey, our kids have been playing tournaments for 10 years, and you guys have the nicest park we've ever seen. And they've been going to tournaments every weekend for, been to probably 50 different parks throughout the years. And to get that feedback is probably one of the best comments we can get. So, this is an important night for us to kind of look forward to see what else we can do to keep up the impact that we've had, not just here locally in Indian Trail, but to expand that to these other towns that are seeing the same impact that we have.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
It's really neat. It's
we know that goes on, and we track a lot of this.
so
I've done a lot of different talks and speeches. Actually, the national park, we did some years ago. We did a panel discussion talking about youth sports tournaments, and so it is. But also, one thing that we always look at, it's not always about the tournaments, it's about your local community. It's community first. And how can you design a community first and also allow for these tournaments to take place? So there's a nice balancing act that, your community can be really proud of that, and use all the different amenities out there. I'm going to go through it. Has everyone been out to the site? I mean, I know staff has. So again, these are just some really cool pictures that some from most from our contractors. They all have these little drones, and they like to put cameras on them and go up. And our company, we've got drones, but you're not legally allowed to actually do this because we've got really big planes, and so our company will not do it. So I want to buy one of my own. But anyway, these are cool little shots. I think Jay, a lot of these are on your website as well. But over time, I think it'll be cool to get some other shots. As landscaping, as all this starts to grow in, it really starts to frame up. Because right now, these are just really small plants and small trees. But over time, you're really going to start to see the character of the site come to be. Just from it's the good, the better, and the best designing for 30 to 40 years. I mean, government buildings are not designed, let's tear them down. I mean, they're here to stay. I mean, with the grant program that you've got, you can't get rid of this park. I mean, if you wanted to. We've been involved with grant projects before with the old Land and Water where they wanted to develop it and they found out you can't from some of those old grants. So, just the materials and the lighting and looking at the theming, a lot of that can't, we worked through with the town staff, and the playground was a real big piece of the whole project to try to come up with something a little bit different. And this is all a custom playground. There's not one like it in the area. Even the company that helped build it, there's not one out there with the zip line and all the things that we've got on it. And just a little bit different character, with the weather vane, just with the balls and the theming. That's kind of fun stuff. I mean, it just sets the tone. We wanted to really come in and even with these gateways to kind of set you know, the playground setting off, where you have the dog park and some of these other things that you come in, that you know where you need to enter. That's all that's doing, is kind of helping with that, where's that front door, helping frame that. So it's really unique, because there's nothing like that we've been involved with to design.
Jason, with all the recent rain that we've had and saturating the soil, was the runoff tested so that everything held up pretty well as planned, or?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, Kenneth can kind of follow up with the ball fields. Kenneth here is our park and ground supervisor, manages all the facilities athletic-wise and green space, but, you know, our fields, specifically the baseball fields, are some of the most, you know, well taken with all the rain that we've gotten. There's been tournaments that, you know, these tournaments, they play all throughout the area. So if a group is playing on a Saturday, they know where they're going, and they may cancel in Concord, but they're still playing here because our fields take the water really well. Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to follow up with what we've had lately, how it's been.
The past few weeks and the months, I mean, the fields, I mean, everything around that park, obviously, like he was talking about the floodplain area, that does get rather wet. You can see it, it's very visual, but, you know, the fields itself and the surrounding areas, they drain very, very well. They did a great, fantastic job with the grading. Everything is all surface drainage. The infields are perfect. I mean, we're still maintaining them as if, you know, there's going to be a game tomorrow, just to keep up with it, so that way we don't have that issue. But ever since I've been here, everything's been great. I cannot complain. I mean, you know, now, I mean, if I had to go out and mow, it'd be a little different. But I mean, we're sitting good though. Like, I feel confident that as long as we maintain with what direction we're going with the quality of maintenance that we're performing, we should never have an issue.
And that leads back to the word of mouth. You know, good reputations travel fast. Bad reputation travels faster. That's good to hear. That's really good.
Well, guys, we probably went a little bit longer, but, you know, answering questions, that was great. What we like to do is Jay, I don't know what, staff, if you all want to mingle in on some of these tables, I mean, let's all roll up our sleeves. That's why we're here, you know. So, Wayne, Mark, and I, and obviously Jay, we can either get at each of these tables to address any questions. We can do that, but we really want you guys to go through that. So, if somebody can be the note taker. We got one over here that's already taking notes, but let's just go through and just look at, you know, what you know of this community, and this is kind of that big wish list, want list, concerns, those things. Within, you know, we're really here to focus on these areas. You know, what can go in there. I mean, granted, if there's something on the existing site that you'd like to see improved, we want those as well, but let's go through that. I'm going to cut our time down a little bit because we've gone a little bit long, but let's just see how we're doing in the next 15 minutes with that. And then from there we'll stop, and then we always like to look, and we're not force ranking, but just with discussion at your table, what of those ideas that you came up with, give us your top 5. You know, what's your 5 needs? You may have a list of 20, but we're looking for your top 5.
So
that helps force rank it a little bit.
2 questions. Yeah. One, on the map, is the Miracle Field still included?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something we know that's out there. We need to put that down as an element that
is it possible to identify where it would go on the map for us?
Yeah, and I think
one of the proposals is right here. I can pass these around.
All right.
The one of the ideas is, as you're looking at those fields, that gravel parking lot to the right was going to become blacktop with additional handicap parking, and then the field was going to go over there to the right along with the playground, because I'm kind of representing the Miracle Field here, and we're not just doing a playground or a field, but we want to do a playground too.
Okay.
And we got brochures about that if you like.
So this is going in the 1.5 acre spot?
No, the 7.
7.
Yeah, the 7 acre spot.
So then the original items that were slated for there are not considered. I'm trying to just understand what our objective is here.
there is nothing that is on or off the table right now.
Right.
Okay.
It's coming.
And what I will say is,
Wherever it goes.
What do
you
you
know,
want?
this is the purpose of the meeting is, you know, what does everyone here want to see at Crooked Creek with the remaining land we have and the remaining funds we have? You know, let's get the input from the public. What do they want out there and what can we do with what we have left?
What's the remaining funds?
Remaining funds is.
Oh, you brought it up, sorry, I'm asking.
Where's the basket?
And
Can we start
obviously,
passing around?
no, I mean.
Sorry about the 20 questions, I
No,
just,
you can, that's why we're here. You can ask the questions. And I will say the remaining funds, I don't have an exact number.
guesstimate.
Guesstimate number is somewhere in the 2 to 2.5 million.
All right, we'll say 2 million.
And the reason why I say I don't have an exact number partly is because we have not finished out the Chestnut contract. So there's still some of that money that needs to come back to the town, and we don't know what that final number is yet.
Okay.
So with that remaining funds and the remaining land, you know, what would the public like to see out there?
Yeah.
And understand, that's what the town can contribute. But if we get creative with our financing,
Yeah.
you might be able to bring other money in if you needed it, like the grants, or maybe organizations that would be willing to contribute, corporations. We got a grant, a health food grant from, help me out.
Blue Shield and NCRP.
Yeah, that also,
Yeah.
so there's other funds potentially available.
There's several grants out there, and I will also say there's potential for sponsorship dollars. I've spoken to a couple different organizations that are interested in some naming rights out at the park, and could be anywhere in the range of $10,000 to $20,000. That's not a huge number, but you know that would cover, you know, a couple, you know, that would cover half, or if not more than half the fitness equipment. If you want to do more of those, it would cover a couple shelters. You know, there's a lot that we can do depending on what we got out.
No, I
there.
understand.
That's just one company.
I just want to understand the parameters that we have to work with.
Yeah, and ideally, we really want the input from everyone here that says, hey, we think you should put more XYZ at the park. You know, shelters, dog park, athletic facilities, walking track, whatever it may be. We need that input so we can move forward and discuss it.
Thank you. Tracy, you have a second? You have one? I'm sorry, you have a second? Sure.
So, let's see if we can go through this fairly quickly. Each group, if somebody, a spokesperson or somebody can just kind of summarize, you know, the discussions at your table, and some of the ideas that you came up with. And then, you know, tell us what your top 5 needs or top 3. They got top 3 over on theirs. So we'll just start with you guys. We had some good discussions at this table.
All right, what we've got basically is bike paths. Kids can bring their bikes and families can go biking. We see that a lot at Dogwood Park. Enhanced walking trails, which we're adding more.
With benches.
With
along the
benches
walking
in
trails.
shaded areas.
For us who can't walk the whole thing without.
That'll also help encourage some of the elderly to come out and walk where they have covered areas. The disc golf seems to be really big. We've seen that in several areas, and we see a lot of people playing it. Make sure that, so it would be interesting to have one course that's simple for the beginners, and one that's advanced for the guys that can turn it around the tree and up, you know.
Yeah, branch or
That type of thing. The other 2 issues were make sure that we incorporate whatever we do. We need more family stuff. We need areas where we have multiple picnic shelters, maybe horseshoes, places where families can
Places
get
to throw
to.
football.
Yeah, you know, a field,
Frisbee.
a frisbee, whatever. Make sure you incorporate your special needs. And I think, potential area, nature areas. We've got all the floodplain, but areas where the kids, the teachers could bring kids out to do some type of nature classroom. You know, find the turtles, go look at the birds, whatever. So that's kind of where we ended up.
And did you guys do your top ones or
Those
top
were.
5?
Yeah.
There's we get 5 of that because I was sitting at that table, so we had good discussions, real good. All right, we'll jump to you guys.
You want to talk about your fishing pond?
Yeah, fishing pond,
I was wondering when that'd come up.
or a lake, or something, and then shelters. you know, kind of going around it, benches, shelters, walking paths. I venture, I see something like Freedom Park, and I know it can't be near as big as Freedom Park's Lake, but I grew up in Charlotte, so I know that feeling of
For Dogwood Park Lakes.
you know, like a walking path around it with shelters and that type thing. I like that idea. And Jeff, you want to tell them about?
Okay. I'm Jeff Sullivan. I'm also on the committee, but Jay Trine does all the work, so you know he gets all the credit for everything. But I'm also Porter Ridge Athletic Association football commissioner, and I'm also the Pop Warner football commissioner for Pop Warner Little Panthers, which covers 13 associations. My motivation is pure and simple, is football. Did I say football already? All right, good. So it's just like the baseball. You know, I really learned a lot with building the baseball fields, watching Jason do all the work, but when he handed us that stack back in March, if you build it, you know, they will come. And, you know, debate over the field turf all you want, as long as, you know, it's durable to something that can last you around. You know, field house with a press box, and what that means, I'm not talking about actual press where you got it elevated to tape the game, have someone commentate, you know, and with sound system. Bleachers on both sides that make it a secure enclosure that can be locked. Scoreboard, sound equipment, lights, nearby concessions. You know, some of you guys might be aware, might not, but we're the Pop Warner Porter Ridge Ravens. We are the only tackle football program this side of 74 up until you get to Weddington, which has an excellent program at the Optimus Park, but you know, that's their land. They own it. You know, we don't own our land. We use Hemby Bridge. We've been there now for the better part of 12 years. Great facility for what we do with it over there, but obviously it can be better. And then to the point where, you know, we could be asked to leave at any time and then basically be homeless. By the numbers, you know, we have anywhere from 5 games on 5 home games on a Saturday. We can have up to 6 games starting from 9 o'clock all the way up until 7 o'clock at night, which usually typically it lasts till about 8:30. Teams run anywhere from 22 to 28 players, so multiply that times 2, you know, because there's a visiting team as well. Most of the teams are in and around Charlotte, anywhere from Lake Norman on down from Gastonia, around Stevens, not Stevens Mill, but Steel Creek. What we are noticing is now that we're part of, we're abiding by national rules, so our teams now can compete to go to Disney, which is where the Pop Warner Championships are. Audrey Kell hosted the last semifinal game, which the semifinal game determined who gets to go to Raleigh, and then from Raleigh they go to Disney. So, you know, and South Charlotte Athletic Association benefited from that because it was a turf field, and we knew that would be a safe place to host these games. So they benefited from the concession stands and stuff like that. So I don't want to run over, but I'll leave this information to you. It's just not, I want y'all also to make sure to understand it's not just for us, Pop Warner, but First Baptist of Indian Trail, First Baptist Church of Indian Trail is starting to, it's on a smaller scale, but they're doing tackle football in the spring. Metrolina Christian Academy will soon offer middle school football. They do have their own field, but you know, there's ideas there. Carolina Pride football team, which is actually an Indian Trail homeschool, where there is a homeschool program where the homeschools play for the Carolina Pride. 7-on-7 is exploding, which is, you know, y'all read that article there. But 7-on-7, which is exploding down in Weddington, they're looking for fields now, which they're actually talking to Matthews about fields. They have multiple states coming in just to play the 7-on-7 tournaments. National football camps, what I mean by that is Nike, Under Armour, they like to find places to host different camps in different areas. And then, of course, lacrosse is coming to Porter Ridge Athletic Association as well. So I'll just leave it at that. So if I told you football, I'll tell you football again. But it, you know, the facilities is great, but it does bring, it will fill up the parking lot, and you know, it is something that is sorely needed in this area.
So let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
That's, it's because we're seeing a rise in Pop Warner. Now, you know, there for a while you hear so much about the concussions and young families not allowing their kids to do those type of sports, but you can find any report anywhere that says soccer has just as or more. Well, but it's all because there's more soccer players out there, youth playing it. That's why the numbers are higher. But are you seeing a surge in with your membership, and are you seeing that one because of maybe again? I'm a big Panthers fan, so maybe because of the Panthers here over going on now 20 years. I've asked that question from other regions, around, because we are seeing up in Shelby has a pretty big Pop Warner, and we're doing a facility for them, and so similar type of ideas that you're talking about.
The thing about the concussion thing, I'm not gonna lie, it hurt our numbers for past few years, but that wasn't the only contributing factor. Also, year-round baseball tournament, travel teams, all this other stuff kind of affected us too. But funny, when mom and dad's not putting the child into football, but yet they're signing them up for lacrosse. So they're going to start to see those statistics change as well. And then not to mention, my wife works for infant to pediatric eye place. So I asked her, what do you see? She's like, well, soccer, I get more injuries for that than anything. So it's on top of the hill, so it's easy to take shots at. But the cool thing about the whole thing is now we are USA heads-up concussion certified. All the coaches have to go through yearly training now. The whole sport has changed itself from the way we teach tackle to the way we notice, also including heat exhaustion, all this other factors that come into play now, where it used to be get your butt in there and go play, you're not hurt, or even worse, where the dad's a coach and his son's a quarterback, get your butt in there, So with that being said, the whole thing has changed from NFL on down, and you hear NFL concussion protocol. Well, that's down to us now, so we have to be certified into it. So I'm glad for it. But again, I see some of the contradictions in it, where some of the parents have pulled their kids out, or they hold Johnny back till 6th or 7th grade. And I got to be honest with you, to start playing football at 7th grade is a little tough, and I've dealt with a lot of the parents. I'm like, well, why'd you wait? Well, we want to make sure he's tough enough to play. And I'm like, he should have played back when he was 7 years old, to get used to it. Because now these kids have been playing 4 and 5 years, and they're going to run them over. And we get that a lot.
Well, thank you for that. I was just curious about that, because we are seeing the Pop Warner numbers in certain areas begin to come up.
What's helping with that is, like, take Shelby for instance. They might have a YFL, which is a competing league, but because of the safety measures and the lack of family environment that it holds, we have security. We have paid security with arresting powers at every game. We have medics at every game. It's not 911. They're sitting there on the sideline. So with that aspect, a lot of times, a lot of these other leagues and teams, they might fold and they're joining in. We're still the largest in the nation, and Pop Warner Little Panthers, which is the only facility which is the only name in the country that adopted the NFL name, and that was through Richardson back when the Panthers were coming in back in the early '90s. He wanted to be a part of the Charlotte Optimist Club, Pop Warner, and that's what he did. He's like, I want y'all to have the name, and we're the only ones that can do the NFL name and logo, which is why you see the Weddington Titans, Porter Ridge Ravens, and the Dallas Cowboys. Not everyone can use logos unless you get the approval of the NFL.
That's cool. All right, thank you.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, that's fine. I asked you a question.
So our top fives. Our first one is the Miracle Field. We feel it's an underserved segment of our population. That if we were to include it, it would, bring all our families who may not really be here to the park. I'm associated with the Porter Ridge as well, and one of the things that one of our parents came to us and they were talking about, one of the kids is special needs and the other is not, but she had to pull one kid out to take him to Weddington to play some sport because her other son also got a chance. He was a special needs kid, got a chance to play there. And it would be nice to not have a drive 20 minutes, 30 minutes away where she can come right down the street to the park and the son can participate, and everybody can be happy. Second thing is, and David did not pay me to say this, but the fishing pond. We'd like the fishing pond as well.
Wait, is that a tackle box?
There's no alcohol allowed. You have to take a tackle box.
Well, the way we looked at it, when we looked at the plan, we saw that the water was draining naturally to one side. We figured that's an ideal spot for a pond. I don't know how you get it past the Army Corps of Engineers, but you can try. The third one we looked at was a multi-use field, and we're asking for 3 of them, which would be football, lacrosse, soccer. If we can get that, that would be lovely.
Three fields.
3.
That each could use.
Each could use it, meaning multi-purpose. The 4th one would be the playground for special needs. That would help because, again, there's a regular playground and any kid could use, but the special need kids, if they could come there too, more people for the, coming to the parks. And the other one would be the walking trails right next to the fishing pond. We have walking trails in the wetland areas, and that's our top 5.
Good. I was at that table, David never snuck over there. Tell him no.
Do you ever
He
get
just
a
lives
fishing
one
pond?
street over from me.
Yeah.
I'm only kidding.
If they put an aluminum recycling bin around the pond, we know there's a problem. Beer cans in there.
All right, thank you, that's great. All right, last
Okay, and
thing.
everybody had ours. So our top 5 was, of course, the Miracle League Field,
Right.
which is going to be the best thing that's ever happened to the Indian Trail. Multi-purpose fields, walking and bike paths, that the park be a real baseball complex with the 8 ball fields, 4 and 4. And I just tacked on, because I was the only one left at the table, the fishing pond. And I love that idea because I live in Sheridan and we have a pond. And when I first moved to Sheridan, I met some of the neighbors. I didn't know them all, but it's restricted just to the neighbors. And I was told by the HOA representative if I ever saw anybody I didn't know to call the sheriffs and they'll, get them out of there. And I must have called on I don't know how many neighbors because I didn't know them yet. And but not just that, but there were also people that still to this day come to fish in our pond. There's no fish there, but they used to fish there or they think there's fish there that don't live there. So I think that there are people that want to go fishing. So I think it would be a great amenity.
Great, that's good, real good. I guess, to really wrap it up, we've kind of gone maybe a half hour longer, but like I said, we're here to really get this good input, and I think, Jay, we got some great comments tonight. From where we go from here, we're gonna take, so please leave your notes here. We'll do some meeting minutes, we'll do some summary of those. We got the sign-in sheet, so if you did not sign in, please do so. And then from there, Jay, I know that we've got to come back and start looking at some ideas, and then we'll be slowly getting this back out, whether back to the committee and or to council, or some way getting some of these concepts back out for further input. So we're hopeful that you're going to see some of your ideas, obviously, on these plans. So with that, do you have any last
I will
comments?
just thank you again for coming out. If there's any other thoughts that come up, on your way home or tomorrow, next couple of days, feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call and we can discuss it further. Like Andrew said, we'll compile all this and you'll see something in the future, whether it be at a park meeting or a council meeting, and we'll continue to address, the next phase. If there's anyone else that has any questions, I'll stick around for a little bit. If anyone wants to grab a snack, like I said, feel free to grab a water for your ride home or a snack, and thank you for coming.